right, Mayor, you can start the meeting now.
Okay, very good. This is Mayor Zettervall, and I would like to open the Creswell Budget Committee meeting for May the 4th, 2020. And it being it's Star Wars Day, may the 4th be with you. So at this point in time, I would like to take a roll call. I will call the names one by one. And as I call your name, if you could open the microphone and acknowledge that your name and you are present. So we'll start with the volunteers who have been appointed to our committee. Shaman Michelson.
Here.
Clark Kent.
Present.
Jonathan Riddle.
I'm present.
Christina Corsi. Christina Corsi. Saw you down there. Christina, can you hear me? Well, I see her present, but she's not acknowledging. I will come back to her name. Philip Smith.
He was on here. There he is.
Philip Smith.
Oh, I'll mute him.
Try once again on
Present.
Okay, very good. Thank you, sir. Very good. Robert Jackson. Robert, is that you?
Yes, I'm here. I'm present. Can you hear me?
Yes, now we can.
Okay.
It's
Thank
very
you.
loud. Yeah, it's very loud. And Dave Stram.
Here.
Thank you, sir. So I'll go back to Christina Corsi. Are you present? Christina, I see you trying.
There's a lot of mute buttons here, but I'm here.
Okay, very good. Now I hear you fine, Christina. Thank you very much. Now we will switch over to the council. All of the volunteers are present. Councillor Castilla.
Alonso Castilla, here.
Okay. Councillor Prochu.
Councilor Prochu, here.
Okay. Councillor McReynolds Jr. I'm trying to see if I see her name down here. I do not see her name, so we will mark Councillor McReynolds absent without excuse at this time, and hopefully she will show up here shortly. Councillor Drago.
Councillor Drago here.
And Councillor Inman.
Councillor Inman here.
Council President Knudsen.
Amy Knudsen here.
Okay, and Mayor Zettervall is president. So that does give us almost everybody. Councillor McReynolds is the one that we are missing at this time. So we have completed agenda item number 1 and agenda item number 2, which is roll call. So at this time, we will open the floor to nominations for chair of the budget committee for the fiscal year 2021. So I would like to hear any nominations that might be out there. Does anybody have a nomination?
I volunteer if nobody wants to do it. Council President Knudsen here.
Okay, very good. Council President Knudsen is volunteering herself.
This is Clark, and I'd like to second Councilor Knudsen's nomination.
And who is that?
Clark Kent.
Very good, Clark. Thank you, sir. Is there any further nominations for chair of the 2021 fiscal budget or fiscal year budget committee for City of Creswell? Okay, hearing none, I will close the nominations. And at this time, we will take a vote. Again, our vote will be done via roll call since we do not have a show of hands available to us. So I will go through and I will ask for votes from the volunteers on our committee first, beginning in the same order that I did the first time. Shaman Michelson. That would be a yay or nay vote, sir.
Yay.
Okay, very good. Clark Kent.
Yay.
Okay. Jonathan Riddle.
Yay.
Christina Corsi.
Yay.
Philip Smith. Thank you, Christina.
Yay.
Robert Jackson. Sounds like your mic is giving you some fits, Robert.
Yes, it is. That would be a yay.
Okay, very good, sir. Loud and clear, to say the least. And Dave Strand?
Yay.
All right, thank you. We'll go on to our council members now. Councilor Castilla.
That would be a yes, or yay.
Okay, that's fine. Councilor Prochu.
Yay.
And I did not see that Martha has joined us yet, so we'll bypass her name at this time. Councilor Drago.
Yay.
And Councilor Inman.
Yay.
Okay. Councilor Knutson.
Yay.
Yay! Very good. And Mayor Zettervall also gives a yay. So that we will say that also, are there any opposition to the vote? I'll just open it up to see if anybody has an opposition. Hearing none, I will call that vote for the chair of the committee to be official, and Council President Knutson will be our chair of our budget committee. I will now open it up to the nominations for vice chair. Anybody have a nomination?
nomination.
Okay, go ahead.
Our illustrious former Mayor Stram, if he was willing to serve, would make an excellent vice.
That was Councilor Prochu making that nomination.
Councilor Knutson, second.
Okay, we have a nomination and a second. Are there any further nominations? Hearing none, I will call the nomination for vice chair of the budget committee to close, and I will go through and I will do another roll call vote for vice chair of the 2021 fiscal year for the City of Creswell Budget Committee. I will go through in the same order we did before. Shaman Michelson. Okay, Clark Kent.
Yay.
Okay, Jonathan Riddle.
Yay.
Christina Corsi.
Yay.
Philip Smith.
Yay.
Okay, Robert Jackson.
Yay.
Very good, sir. Thank you. Dave Strand.
Sure.
Sure. Good answer, sir. Along to councilors now, we'll move on to Councilor Castilla.
Yay.
Councilor Prochu.
Yay to that.
Okay, Councilor McReynolds. I'm looking to see if her name has popped up yet. I do not see her name on here, so we will go ahead and bypass her name again. Councilor Drago.
Yay.
Councilor Inman.
Yay.
Council President Knutson.
Yay.
And Mayor Zettervall also votes aye on that one as well. So are there any opposition votes for this nomination? Okay, hearing none, I will call the vote official, and that would be a unanimous vote of the budget committee of the attendees that we have in attendance. So on to item number 4, and I will now relinquish my chair capacity and turn that over to Council President and the Budget Committee Chair, Councilor Knutson.
Thank you, Mayor Zettervall. So everybody should have received the minutes from last year's budget meeting. There were 2 sets since we had 2 meetings. If there's any questions, you're just gonna have to chime in and unmute yourself and we'll try to get them answered. Did everybody get a chance to look them over? If you need more time, just let me know. If there are no questions or concerns, then I am asking for a motion to approve the Budget Committee meeting minutes.
This is Mayor Zettervall. I would like to make the motion to approve the Budget Committee meetings minutes from last year's budget meeting. Do you have the date on that, Amy?
April 30th, 2019 and May 14th, 2019.
Okay, so it would be April 13th,
30th,
2019.
sorry,
I'm
30th.
sorry, April 30th, 2013 and May 8th, you said, is that correct?
May 14th, 2019.
May 14th, 2019. So, all right, I made the motion. I hope that's accurate enough.
All right, there's a motion on the floor. Is there a second?
This is Clark Kent, and I'll second that motion.
All right, thank you very much. We will go through, and I'm gonna switch it up a bit, and I'm gonna go through by how you guys are all on my screen so I make sure I don't miss anybody. Judy Drago's at the top. Yay or nay?
Yay.
Counselor Castilla.
Yay.
Misty Inman.
Yay.
Jonathan Riddle.
Yay.
Kevin Prochu.
Yay.
Dave Stram.
Yay.
Mayor Zettervall.
Yay.
Philip Smith.
Yay.
Christina Corsi.
Yay.
Clark Kent.
Yay.
Robert Jackson.
Yay.
Shaman Nicholson. And I think that's everybody. So I see 3 numbers at the bottom of my screen that don't have names, and I hope I'm not missing you guys. I know one of those is Christina, but there's 2 others on there, and
How did Amy vote?
if you're part of the committee, please say something. If you're part of staff, then never mind.
Excuse me, Chair.
Yeah.
Did you vote?
Oh, no, I did not. Thank you.
That'll make
That's a yay vote for me. And are there any nay votes? Hearing none, motion passes unanimously. We move on to item 5, which is our budget message. And I hope everybody has their budget packets ready to go, and I will hand it over to our finance director, Mr. Piper.
Thank you, Chair Knudsen. The budget submitted herein is a proposed budget for the fiscal year beginning July 1st, 2020 and ending June 30, 2021. The budget reflects a cautious outlook for the upcoming fiscal year. During the late stages of developing the budget, a pandemic was declared. The economic future is uncertain. However, the city has kept healthy reserves for times such as these. Controlling expenses has been important to the long-term financial health of the city. The bulk of those expenses are in personal services. Wages and benefits are designed to retain employees. However, considering the recent economy, a zero cost of living increase is recommended. Employees will still receive a step increase as part of their annual performance evaluations. Further, a salary study is scheduled to be conducted in the fiscal year. The results of the study will help in making pay scale corrections as needed. The budget has been prepared to satisfy the legal requirements of the State of Oregon budget law, government accounting standards, and the City of Creswell's financial policies. The financial plan for the city is balanced and was developed to continue existing traditional services and enhance some services provided by the city of Creswell. The proposed budget is the link between public policy, values, and available resources. The 2020-2021 budget provides the reader with details about goals within the departmental funds and programs, along with some basic performance measures. A narrative overview is presented on the face page of the fund, followed by the corresponding financial resources and expenditures details on the following page. The actual financial revenues and expenditures for fiscal years 2017-18 and 2018-2019 are printed in the first two columns, followed by the figures approved and amended in the 2019-2020 budget. The projected 2019-2020 column provides additional information upon revenues and expenditures for the current fiscal year. The three columns on the right include the proposed, approved, and adopted budget for the fiscal year 2021. The 2020-21 budget is also accompanied by the City of Creswell Capital Improvement Plan, proposed projects and capital improvements for fiscal year 2020-21, also known as the CIP. We asked the Budget Committee review the CIP in conjunction with the 2020-21 budget. Citywide, fiscal year 2020-2021 personal services will increase $175,391, or approximately 8% over fiscal year 2019-2020 budget. For fiscal year 2021, an additional maintenance one worker was added to Public Works to meet increasing demands for service. There is scheduled a 5.5% increase for cost of medical insurance benefits for fiscal year 2020-21. The city rate for public employees retirement system, PERS, is not scheduled to increase, as this is the second year of a biannual rate. The taxable value of all property within the city of Creswell increased $18.5 million to a total taxable value of $410.4 million. We estimate that the general fund will receive approximately $1,044,000 in current property taxes in fiscal year 2020-21, an anticipated increase of $24,500. The general fund will make a loan to the airport to build hangars. This endeavor will provide future revenue streams for the respective funds. The general fund will also transfer reserves to the building department and the airport to build reserves and help with current operations. For fiscal year 2019-2020, despite an effort to spend down fund balance, projected general fund reserves will be increased by $242,963. This is due to the cost savings in personal services and material services for all departments. These savings are due to not hiring a public works and planning specialist. Further, an interfund loan to the airport to build hangars is postponed until the following fiscal year. For fiscal year 2020-21, general fund reserves are budgeted to be reduced to $676,474. Any fund balance will not meet the minimum requirement established by city fiscal policy. This is due to accepting a one-time grant to provide housing rehabilitation. Operating contingencies will meet the minimum requirements established by city fiscal policy. Combined ending fund balance and operating contingency will exceed $1 million, or 130 days of budgeted operating expenses. General fund revenue estimates for fiscal year 2020-2021 indicate a $566,175, or 27.4% increase over fiscal year 2019-2020. This is due primarily to grant revenues of $400,000 to provide a housing rehabilitation program. Also, a public safety fee is proposed to increase, bringing in $189,340 more than the prior fiscal year. After factoring out the grants and the public safety fee increase, Revenues will decrease $23,165, about a negative 1.1% decrease compared to fiscal year 2019-2020. This decrease reflects a reduction in hotel motel tax and interest earnings offset by annual increase in property tax. This year, the city anticipates a 15% increase in insurance coverage for property and a 5% increase in liability. Property and liability rates did not increase in fiscal year 2019-2020. Therefore, these rates are a correction. The 2019-2020 budget continues to reflect the city council's policy decisions to reduce the fund balance reserves, to provide improved economic development opportunities. Operating contingency reserves continue to meet the minimum requirement established by city fiscal policy. The airport manager code officer is removed from personal services in 2020-2021 due to emergency operations center grant work being completed. The public works and planning specialist is being reclassified to planning specialist. This position will provide additional administrative support in planning, parks, and open spaces. A portion of their time will be split with planning and land use. The planning supervisor is a city planner who will provide supervision of the specialist. Public Works will be adding a maintenance one staff person to help with increasing demand in services. A portion of their time will be split between street, water, and sewer. Tourism spending will decrease $13,742 compared to fiscal year 2019-2020 due to a decrease in motel tax revenues. Contractual services for police protection increased $208,541 in the 2021 budget in order to add a fourth deputy in fiscal year 2020-2021. The Public Works and Planning Specialist, again, is being reclassified to planning specialist. A portion of their time will be split with culture and recreation. The planning supervisor is a city planner who will provide supervision of the specialist. Contractual services for an economic development planner budgeted in fiscal year 2020-2021. Also, a $400,000 community development block grant program will be established to provide housing rehabilitation. Oregon Department of Transportation state exchange funds that have accumulated each year since 2017 are available for the 8th Street project between 4th and 1st Street. The amount of unexpended funds of $158,130 will be carried forward to complete the construction in fiscal year 2020-2021. In fiscal year 2020-2021, a transfer of $100,000 is proposed to continue funding the Street Capital Improvement Reserve Fund. The Public Works and Planning Specialist position will not be filled. Public Works will instead be adding a maintenance one staff person to help with increasing demand and service. A portion of their time will be split between culture and recreation, water, and sewer. The result is a reduction of personal services of $9,007 in fiscal year 2020-21 compared to fiscal year 2019-2020. Ending fund balance reserves and contingencies meet the minimum requirements established by city fiscal policy. Bicycle footpath revenues in this fund have been transferred from the street fund to finance ongoing bicycle lane striping projects. These projects will continue this fiscal year. Capital outlay is expected to be $40,000 in fiscal year 2020-2021 related to bike lane improvements in the 8th Street project. Building and electrical permit revenues are proposed to decrease $51,000 and $5,000 respectively. The decrease in permit revenues in fiscal year 2020-2021 is due to the lack of affordable buildable land within the current urban growth boundary. A transfer from the general fund of $75,000 will help rebuild operating reserves. Materials and services are proposed to decrease $41,414 in fiscal year 2020-2021. This is due to a reduction in the contract with the City of Cottage Grove to provide building inspection services. Ending fund balance reserves and contingencies will meet the minimum requirements established by city fiscal policy. The water fund contains federally and state mandated programs. It is necessary that the utility rates are structured and ensure that funds are available to pay for operating expenses, ongoing capital needs, and debt service obligations. A water rate increase of 2% is recommended for fiscal year 2020-2021 by the Water Rate Advisory Committee. Transfers of $453,047 are being made to the Water Capital Improvement Fund in fiscal year 2020-2021 for current and future capital improvement plans. Public Works will be adding the maintenance one staff person in fiscal year 2020-21 to help increase demand and service, and a portion of their time will be split with culture and recreation, sewer, and streets. Debt service reserves meet the requirements set by lenders. Ending fund balance reserves and contingency meets the minimum requirements established by city fiscal policy. A sewer rate increase of 3% was recommended for fiscal year 2020-2021 by the Water Rate Advisory Committee. Transfers of $267,971 are being made to the Sewer Capital Improvement Fund in fiscal year 2020-2021 for current and future capital improvement plans. Public Works will be adding a maintenance one staff in fiscal year 2021 to help increase demand and service, and a portion of their time will be split with culture and recreation, water, and streets. A debt service reserve of $104,840 in fiscal year 2019-20, should say 2021 as well, ensures adequate reserves are set aside for debt service obligations for the following year. Ending debt service reserves meet the requirements set by lenders. Ending fund balance reserves and contingency meet the minimum requirements established by city fiscal policy. Airport Fund. Grant awards for taxi lane improvements are expected to carry over into fiscal year 2020-21 as the projects continue into the summer of 2020. Also, an interfund loan from the general fund of $450,000 is being rolled over to fund hangar construction. New hangars are budgeted to be constructed in fiscal year 2021 with plans to add more tenants in subsequent years. Additional hangars could mean more fuel cells to new tenants and additional rent. The airport fund will receive an operational transfer from the general fund, while hangars are constructed in hopes of improving future operating revenues. Ending fund balance reserves and contingency meet the minimum requirements established by city fiscal policy. The city will continue to collect receipts associated with the improvements on Harvey Road. There are no new local improvement districts planned for fiscal year 2020-2021. Lighting and audio video system improvements in the council chambers and adjoining conference room are scheduled to be completed in fiscal year 2021. Water capital improvements for 2021 include improvements on the A Street project, more radio meters, an arsenic removal study, and a new hydrant on Oregon Avenue. Sewer capital improvements for fiscal year 2020-21 includes the improvements on A Street. Street capital improvements include the A Street project between 4th and 1st Street. The system development charges, SDCs, account for revenues and expenditures for projects associated with development of residential and commercial property growth in the community. As the economy continues to improve, revenues in these funds will increase. System development charges are held in reserve for projects in accordance with the Oregon Revised Statutes, ORS Chapter 223, and can only be expended for purposes specifically outlined in ORS 223.307. In fiscal year 2021, expenditures for improvements at Grasslands Park and a master plan for Garden Lake Park are budgeted in the amount of $105,000. The city has adopted several new master plans that include water, parks, transportations to address current and future infrastructure needs. Despite the declared emergencies the city has faced in 2 consecutive springs, we look forward to new development opportunities for future growth. We press forward with reserved optimism, and we are preparing for what opportunities lay ahead. We'd like to thank the residents of Creswell for putting your trust in your local government leadership and providing your input as community members as the city council makes policy decisions and that helps improve the livability of our community. We would also like to extend special thanks to the Creswell professional staff for their efforts in researching and providing financial information for preparing the budget. Lastly, we'd like to thank the City Council and citizen members of the Budget Committee for your support and willingness to serve your community. It's an honor to work with professional and skilled city employees and community volunteers to develop and implement the fiscal year 2020-2021 budget. Respectfully submitted by myself and City Manager Amber.
Thank you, Mr. Piper. So we've received the budget message. Shall we move forward with overview of the proposed budget? I'd just like to make a note to people that are new to the budget committee. Typically, the first meeting is kind of get a lot of information, quick overview, and then you'll have the next couple weeks to really dig into this budget if you so choose, and I suggest you do, and look it over, ask some questions. All city staff is there for you, especially Mr. Piper, to answer anything. City council always comes back with at least a few questions to the next meeting, and then we get those questions answered at that time. That doesn't mean you can't answer or ask questions tonight, but I'm just saying if you haven't had time to thoroughly look over the budget and questions come up between now and then, that's kind of how we've been doing it. So if we want to go over the proposed budget, Mr. Piper?
Thank you, Chair Knudsen. Yes, we will take those questions in throughout the next 2 weeks, and we build up a document that has questions and answers. And so when we come back to the next meeting, we'll have those distributed, and you'll have answers not only to your questions, but to everyone's questions, so that they're made available to everybody on the committee.
May I intervene for just a moment, please?
Sure.
Okay, I would like to acknowledge that Councilor McReynolds Jr. has joined us down below. So I would like to acknowledge that by Martha. Can you please declare that you're there?
Hello, Martha McReynolds Jr. is here. My apologies, everyone.
Okay, thank you, Councilor McReynolds. I greatly appreciate it. All right, Mr. Piper, thank you very much.
All right, bear with me as I share my screen here. Hopefully everybody can see the presentation. Let's go into this mode. All right, can everyone see the slides?
Yes, I thought I messed something up and I'm like, I lost everybody.
I said the same thing. Looks great on my end, Mr. Piper. Thank you.
All right, and these
Yeah.
slides will be made available after the meeting. I apologize for not getting them out sooner. All right, so we're going to take a 10,000-foot view of the budget. Again, as in the budget message, we started this budget planning back in January before the pandemic was announced. It did definitely set us back a little bit. I'm sure that you're aware of that. And we put together a budget that is fairly conservative. You'll see a lot of carry forward from last year, not a whole lot of new projects going forward. Part of that was just the way the schedule turned out. Construction couldn't get done in one fiscal year. It can't carry over to the next. Anyways, I'll dive in here. We'll start with beginning fund balances. We have healthy reserves. That's always been a policy of the city of Creswell, that reserves are kept for years like these, for moments like these. As you can see, the SDC funds account for almost 50% of our reserves, at 46%. And then capital projects, another big chunk of it, that's the money that's being saved for future infrastructure projects in water, sewer, parks and streets. That's 17% of the budget. beginning fund balance. And then we have 14% general fund, 2% for street fund, mainly because we transferred most of it over to the capital projects fund. If you look back at the current budget year, 2019-2020, we budgeted $1 million transfer over to the capital improvements fund so that it would be used for projects. Bike path, that's less than 1% of the overall fund balance, but that represents 1% of all gas taxes that come in. They have to be used for bike and footpath projects. The building fund reserves have gotten down to less than 1% due to a decrease in construction. Again, not as many housing projects coming through, although we do have land use reviews that indicate that in the future we will have some housing projects come through. But I think the city will have to increase its urban growth boundary to meet the building permit activity that it's had in the past few years. Water fund, sewer fund, well funded, no concerns there. So beginning fund balances, that's money carried over from the previous fiscal year. We're looking at 14.9 million. 6.8 million of that is in SDC funds. Those are monies that can only be spent on future capacity in water, sewer, parks, and streets. They can't be used for any other means under the ORSs. General fund, you'll notice a decrease in ending fund balance. Again, in the budget message, we talked about the city council's policy of spending down that reserve. Even with the spend down, we're still going to have about $1 million in ending fund balance and contingency combined for fiscal year 2020-21. The decrease, the major items here are the interfund loan to the airport, transfer to the building department fund for this year to help them out, the transfer to the airport to build up those reserves. They've got some heavy construction projects coming up. $423,000 contingency reserves. So if we don't have a contingency, we don't spend those monies will just roll back into ending fund balance once the year is completed and closed. $27,728 in capital outlay. These are one-time expenditures, long-term assets, long life assets. $60,000 this upcoming fiscal year, fiscal year 2020-21, for economic development. That's an economic development plan, getting RAIN involved to help small businesses get off and running. And then there's the $40,000 salary study that we have had scheduled every 5 years. This is the fiscal year that the salary study would occur. Capital project funds, we're seeing an increase in ending fund balance of $875,106, mainly because we just have the Melton Road Bridge repair that's coming up at $85,000, and then the capital outlay for A Street between First and Fourth. We have those transfers coming in from water, sewer, and streets. STC funds, they're going to increase by $95,898. That's after spending $25,000 on some park improvements at Grasslands and $80,000 on a master plan for Garden Lake Park. Here's a good graph of the general fund program requirements of $2.8 million. Majority of it, public safety is 44%. Planning 27%, admin 15%, culture and rec 14%. It's a good graphic illustration of property tax revenues over the years. We're projecting 1.06 million in property tax revenues. One thing you'll notice, the real market value fluctuates up and down based on recessionary periods. But because of Measure 5, Measure 50, we have this consistent 3% growth year over year. Franchise fees of $337,000 proposed in the budget. Pretty consistent year over year. That's power, garbage, telephone. Other general fund revenues, intergovernmental revenues of $156,400. That's the liquor, the cigarette tax, the state shared revenues. Other taxes coming into hotel, motel, and telecom tax, $106,000. The telecom tax is has been improving over the years. That is, internet service providers like Charter paying in the 5% of revenues that they receive from gross revenues from providing service within the city. Public safety fee of $428,935. That's the new proposed fee with adding a deputy. The community development block grant, we have a block grant for $400,000 to provide housing rehabilitation. General fund, the personal services increase of $5,303. Mainly that's from the increase in medical insurance. It's still pretty slim. Materials and services increase of $720,000. $720,890 rather. That's the grant to do the housing rehabilitation, and the increase in the Lane County Sheriff's contract to add a deputy, the economic development activity we talked about, and a salary study. Street fund revenues, you're going to notice a little dip in 2020-21. You'll also notice the projected numbers for 2019-2020 in the budget have dropped, and mainly that was because of March. March, we saw a decrease in gasoline tax of about 40%. Street fund, personal service decrease of $9,000, and that's $9,007. That's due to not hiring the public works and planning specialists, and added the maintenance one worker. And again, we have a zero cost of living adjustment budgeted. Materials and services decreased $20,000, mainly from completing some work on the stormwater master plan. You'll still see $60,000 of work in the fiscal year 2020-21 budget remaining. There was some savings in the street sweeping contract as well. Bicycle footpath, pretty straightforward. We just have the capital outlay for A Street, $40,000. And building department fund. This graph will show you an illustration of activity going through 18-19. We don't have the 19-20 information in yet, completed through June 30. You will see, though, in the projected numbers that there is a decrease in revenues. We have reached out to our partners in Cottage Grove and talked to them about the contractual services for the inspection services, and did negotiate a decrease in that for fiscal year 2020-21. And that makes up for the majority of our decreases in the building department's funds, materials and services. Water fund, you'll notice materials and services, personal services equals $1.137 million. It's an increase of 5.75 over the prior year. This is consistent with previous years. There's no change in the debt service, so that helps. There's a $54,266 decrease in ending fund balance. But the transfers from the audited revenues over expenditures from the previous year has part to play in that. It's $453,047 that is going to be transferred over for future capital projects. Same with sewer fund. We're going to see a 6.6% increase overall in expenditures there. $59,622 decrease in debt service helps out. And we're actually going to see a $736 increase in ending fund balance. And that's after transfers from the audited financials of 18-19 of revenues over expenditures. They'll be transferred over to capital projects in $261,971. Airport fund, there's an increase in personal services and material services, 12.7%. The increase is due to the involvement in economic development opportunities at the airport. We have the taxi lane improvement carry forward from 2019-2021. We have the interfund loan possibility of building hangars at the airport and getting more rents, which will also mean more fuel cells at the airport. We also have other projects brewing, but nothing worthy of adding to the budget this time, just because we haven't fully been approved for grants and such. But there will be more activity, more of Shelley's time basically at the airport fund in the coming fiscal year, focusing on improving the economic development opportunities out at the airport. All right, at this time, I'm open to any questions. Uh-oh, I'm frozen.
If anybody has any questions for Jim at this moment, please just speak up.
Hi, this is Clark. It's always good to see you, Mr. Piper. I've got a question on a couple things, and they don't have to be answered today necessarily, but I'll let you know what they are right now. Number one was from page 35 of the, or if you're reading an Adobe Reader, page 55 of the document. There's revenues coming through on the Cobalt Building user fees in the community center. And I was just wondering, I'm kind of a little bit of a pessimist when it comes to the COVID-19 and people getting together and all that again. And I'm just wondering about those figures. So that was one question. And then the other question was on page 37. I noticed there's a small, but by comparison, a little upgrade in the amount of money that we're going to be using for the website. So I was just very curious about that.
Question.
That makes me excited, but I'm wondering what that entails.
Good questions.
Yes, good questions. I can address those briefly. With the community center revenues, you're right, and to be when we drafted the budget, we weren't sure how long COVID-19 was going to keep us at home, and as things develop, we're learning more every day, and albeit those numbers reflect things opening back up in say July, there's a possibility that doesn't happen, of course. And something we do all year long is monitor those revenues before we continue to making expenditures. So that's something we'll continue to monitor. And for the website increase, that relates to some budgeting, online budgeting software, budgeting and analytics software. It's more of the open government type software that we've implemented on our website. and it'll give us more tools.
That's great. Thank you very much.
Just to tie into that question, does the commercial kitchen play into the budget that's going into the Cobalt building?
That's that. Yeah.
Both Michelle and Victor are sorry.
No.
Okay. You guys are on mute, so.
Thank you, Chair Knudsen. No, we didn't see a significant increase in revenues coming from that source at the time of drafting the budget.
Okay. Are there any other questions at this moment?
Hello, this is Dave Strand.
Yes,
Hi,
Mr.
Jim.
Hey, Dave.
So I would love to get more information about the community development block grant because I see that large item this coming year. So is that something you could put together and get to us in the next couple weeks?
Sure, Dave. I forget. Not everybody's on council and attends all the meetings, and I just assume everybody knows what's going on there. Sure, I'd be glad to get that information out.
Then I had two other questions. The first one was public safety. So this is going to be a big year, adding a fourth deputy. What kind of feedback have you got from the community in terms of adding the deputy and adding $6 more to public safety fee?
I'll leave that up to Michelle to answer. She's been getting more of the feedback.
The Public Safety Committee did 2 surveys, and we can provide the information from those surveys if you'd like, but there was overwhelming support in the surveys to actually possibly add 2 deputies. That would be the top of what the tolerance was based on those surveys. But and I don't mean to speak for the committee, except that the recommendation was to hire 1. And that's a nice conservative step to take, and it seems very reasonable for this budget period. Did I answer your question?
Thank you, Michelle. Yes. Yes, you did. I'm curious about 8th Street. Is that going to be completed in this fiscal year?
Fiscal year 2021.
I'm pretty excited about this, yes. And if you have any specific questions, you can ask Cliff, but we're just about to award the bid. We'll be doing that on Monday night, and the summer season will be the project. So hopefully by the end of the summer season, 8th Street will be redeveloped to look great, or at least it'll be resurfaced and new sidewalks and such. And half of the street is going to be modeling our downtown commercial look, and the other half is going to be residential. So it will be split kind of down the middle. And it'll be a nice kickoff to our downtown commercial area redevelopment.
Yay. So my last question, quick one. COVID-19, how could that impact what we receive in property taxes in this November this year and November the next year? What kind of impact have on what the city receives in terms of property tax revenue?
Dave Stram. Michelle and I have talked about this, and we don't see a reduction in property taxes collected, especially with the housing market the way it is. We're seeing tax collections for property taxes pretty consistent. We don't anticipate a decrease.
If I understand your question correctly, I don't anticipate seeing an increase either until some of those areas are redeveloped. One that we will see, of course, increase, we're keeping our fingers crossed, is the 2nd and A Street lot that we had to abate and now was sold and torn down. So it's 2 vacant lots side by side. There is a commercial developer who's looking at developing one of those lots, and that could give us more property tax. But the project itself should not automatically bring in more property tax.
Thank you.
Got it.
Sorry, I guess I have a follow-up question to Mr. Stram's question is, no, we're not going to see an increase. And also, no, we don't suspect a huge decrease. But if our small businesses and commercial buildings start going out of business and leaving, then how is that going to impact us? How is that going to impact the budget?
Well, the taxes are based on the property value, not necessarily the business that's in them. If the building is torn down, then that will impact our property tax to the negative. If it's redeveloped, which, you know, we would hope in a strong economy, that's what we would see. We may not see that as quickly as we had hoped, but eventually the whole downtown area would be upgraded and be brought to standard and would be generating some significant new taxes from improvements to the buildings and properties. Did I answer your question?
Yep, you did. Thank you. Are there any more questions at this time? If there are, you just gotta unmute your microphone and speak up. All right, so moving on to receiving public comment. I'm guessing that's a little bit different. I don't know if anybody is there at City Hall or if we received comment via phone call, email.
I'm looking at our city recorder and she's shaking her head no.
Okay. So if there are no public comments and there are no more comments or questions from the committee, I just want to remind everybody to take notes of your questions. If you just reading through this very long budget can be tedious, take it as you will, but it's important for all of us to review it and to get your questions answered. If you need a hard copy, you can request one from City Hall. If you're good at Adobe and can read it that way and highlight and take notes, do that too. And in the meantime, until our next meeting, email or call Jim or our city manager, Amber, with your questions, and they will compile all of our questions and those will be presented at the next budget meeting. If there is no other comments or questions, and I don't see anybody unmuting, we will see and hear from all of you at the next budget meeting, which is in 2 weeks. And I'm guessing still via video conferencing.
Yes. And Chair Knudsen, we will have the Urban Renewal Agency meeting as well next time.
Oh, right. Okay.
So receive a budget message and hopefully approve the budget all in one meeting. It's a one-page budget collecting incremental revenues.
And if any of you newcomers are have questions about the Urban Renewal Agency that we have implemented, please feel free to reach out.
All right.
With that, I will adjourn the meeting at 7:16 p.m. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Au revoir.
Thank you. Have a great week.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Yes, thank you, everybody.